everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and there is yet more news to talk about on this fine Wednesday. There's some news from WWE, there's some AEW news as well, various different bits and pieces, so without any further ado, let's crack on and take a look at those headlines. First of all, it seems as though a Raw Superstar could be being sent back to NXT. Next up, we take a look at some more details surrounding Becky Lynch's announcement on this week's Raw. And in addition to that, in very exciting news, we take a look at a new Netflix movie which features none other than Roman Reigns. So yes, first of all, it seems as though a Raw Superstar could well be on his way back to NXT, despite not really having much of a chance to shine on the red brand for very long. This comes via a report from Mike Johnson of PW Insider, who is pointing out that apparently there is no long-term plan to keep including Austin Theory in this stable that he's currently in Zelina Vega's group of handsome, lovely boys. Johnson says they seem to be teasing the beginning of Austin Theory getting tossed out of the group, and if you've been watching Raw recently, you'll know that a bit of tension, a bit of friction has been arising between Austin Theory and the other members of the stable. Johnson goes on saying, when Austin Theory debuted at WrestleMania, I was told that he was not long for the group. He was there basically to help cover things up in terms of what was needed while Andrade was injured. But the long-term plan was not to keep him with Zelina Vega and friends. And yes, if you missed WrestleMania, basically what happened was Andrade was meant to be on the card, possibly defending his US title, possibly in a multi-man sort of match, but instead he was ruled out of WrestleMania and was replaced by Austin Theory. Theory then teamed with Angel Garza, taking on the Street Profits on night 2, I believe, of WrestleMania 36, but they were unable to win those Raw Tag Team titles. And remember, before Theory was called up to Raw, there are reports suggesting that Vince McMahon did not know a great deal about him at all, and that apparently it was in fact Paul Heyman who recommended calling him up. And in fact, a few weeks ago as well, this seems to build on reports from back then, which suggested that Theory may be moving back down to NXT to gain some more experience before moving back up to Raw or SmackDown in future. The thinking there was apparently that even though he is really good, he needs some more experience away from Raw before he can return to the biggest stage, I suppose. Now, I would suggest this doesn't mean experience in terms of being a wrestler, performing the moves and all that sort of stuff, because Theory was an absolute superstar on the independent scene and for Evolve. I think it means more in terms of, I guess, molding him into a WWE superstar, molding his craft into that of a regular WWE roster member. But then again, I would suggest that, well, first of all, my personal feelings on this are that, sometimes WWE can be guilty of making everybody a bit of a cookie cutter and not allowing people to keep what makes them unique. But if we're looking at it from more of an objective point of view, I guess that you could argue that yes, Theory does need more experience, but then again, he's pretty much got all the tools, right, already. He's got the look, he's got the moves, he's got the charisma. I don't really understand what more he could be doing. Then again, on the positive side of things for Austin Theory, he is kind of tailor-made for an environment like NXT, isn't he? He's a bit of a workhorse, but also has that inbuilt kind of I am a WWE superstar, Randy Orton-esque vibe about him. He looks the part. There's even a storyline in place for him in NXT. He could even come along and say, you know what, I'm sick of this place. I hate being back here. I've been to Raw, I've been there and I've done that, and now I'm back. But while I'm here, even though I'm too good for this place, I might as well take one of the titles anyway. That's just a little bit of fantasy book in there. Quite proud of it though. I just thought of that off the top of the dome. Next up, we're just going to quickly look at a little update on the Raw ratings, because last week, of course, Raw drew a historically low number. Last week, they drew 1.686 million viewers, which was the record low for an episode of Raw. Often when we report on record low ratings for Raw, that's often with the caveat that it's like the lowest non-holiday rating or whatever. But no, this rating last week was the lowest rating in Raw's entire history. But this week it was slightly better news for WWE and for Raw, because the show drew an average of 1.92 million viewers and held steady pretty much throughout the broadcast. This was an increase of about almost 250,000 viewers on average, which can only be healthy. The only way is up, I suppose, when you've hit a record low rating. Actually, no, the only way is up or down. They could have gone down again, couldn't they? But they didn't, so it's fine. It'll be interesting to see how current factors affect these ratings going forwards. Of course, the biggest thing must be the fact that it's lockdown and people might just not have a desire to watch wrestling when there's no live audience, because obviously one thing we've definitely learned is that fans are so crucial to the watching of wrestling. Even if you're watching at home, watching it without an audience just isn't the same. And another factor to keep an eye on could be this recently introduced brand-to-brand invitation kind of thing, the relaxation of the brand split rules, which means there can be more cross-promotion, cross-appearances from SmackDown to Raw and vice versa. So Baron Corbin's going to appear, for example, on next week's Raw and take on Drew McIntyre. I don't know if this will have an effect or not, but I guess people might be more likely to tune into Raw if a big star that they're used to seeing on the blue brand is going to be turning up. I don't know, we'll have to see how it goes. Next up, let's go back to PW Insider, who have another report on Monday Night Raw on Becky Lynch's big announcement. Now, we know what the announcement was, of course, by now, and if you've somehow missed it, Becky Lynch's announcement was that she was pregnant and that she's taking time away from the ring. Also, she relinquished the Raw Women's Championship, giving it to Asuka, revealing that all along the title had been inside of the Women's Money in the Bank briefcase. So in winning that match on Sunday, without realizing, Asuka became the champion. It was a cool way to do things, and generally on the whole it was a very heartwarming and positive announcement, and everyone's delighted for both Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. However, there were a few little details that have come to light from this PW Insider report that we're going to talk about now. So apparently Asuka did not know that she would be winning the Raw Women's Championship at the time of the taping of the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which is really cool actually. It's cool that she didn't realize she was going to be holding the belt despite having actually won the briefcase with the belt inside. I'm not suggesting that the belt was literally in the briefcase at the taping, but you know what I mean, kayfabe. Now, I'm not quite certain about the details here. I'm not sure whether that means that Asuka didn't know in the actual segment itself where Becky revealed the belt to her from inside the briefcase, or whether it meant that Asuka just found out at some point in between that segment and the taping of the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match where she actually won the briefcase. But either way, the point of this very much is that Asuka was in the dark for quite some time, possibly for as long as we were, and if that's the case, that's a really cool surprise, and I think that that would explain her seemingly very organic reaction. Then again, it's Asuka. Sometimes she just does what she wants, doesn't she? So getting up on the announce table, running around the arena with the belt, that could have been in character. It could have not been. That woman's a mystery. And it wasn't just Asuka as well. Apparently there were multiple people in attendance at the Raw TV tapings who didn't know that Becky was going to announce her pregnancy until the beginning of the segment. Again, that's really cool. It's a cool way to keep things real and organic, and a reminder that sometimes wrestling isn't the most important thing. You know what I mean? Sometimes real world things are the most important thing. Now, it goes without saying really, but I should mention it anyway because it was in PW Insider's report. There is no penciled in date for a Becky Lynch return or anything like that because of course she will be focusing on motherhood when the baby is born. It just makes sense. But also there's an interesting detail here. Apparently this announcement, this whole revelation, has absolutely no bearing on the likelihood of a Ronda Rousey return to WWE. So whether you think that Ronda's going to return or whether you think that it's all just hearsay and that she's not going anywhere near WWE for a while, this has no bearing upon that. Apparently the chances have not increased or decreased because of this. But I can see why people might think so, because obviously in losing Becky Lynch for a while, or for quite some time actually, WWE have of course lost one of their biggest and most over stars, possibly the over woman in the entire history of WWE, certainly from an in-ring standpoint as well. But anyway, it seems as though this would increase the likelihood of Ronda Rousey coming back, to give the women's division a big boost and to give the entire roster a big boost. But yeah, according to PW Insider, that's not necessarily the case. And while we're on the topic as well, a new t-shirt has hit WWEshop.com, which is basically Becky Lynch's The Man t-shirt design, the black tee with the bold white lettering. But instead of the man, it says the mom. I've got a major issue with this. She's Irish, right? Becky, of course, we all know that. Why not just knock the N off the end of the man and just call it the ma? That makes so much more sense to me. How did they not see that? But Becky didn't seem to mind her pregnancy being used to shill merch, because she shared a link to the t-shirt on her Twitter and said, "Can't even complain because I need the money for formula." Stepping away now from WWE for just a second to talk about AEW. Recently we have been keeping you up to date with the news of the competitors in that upcoming casino ladder match taking place at Double or Nothing on May 23rd. Recently we knew two confirmed competitors in that match. First of all, Darby Allin, who must be considered a frontrunner for the win in that match essentially, and secondly Colt Cabana, who might be a little bit less likely to win, just if we look at their trajectory in AEW. But that's just my opinion. The winner of the match, of course, secures themselves a title shot for the AEW World Championship, and now a third competitor has been revealed, and it's none other than freshly squeezed himself, Orange Cassidy. This is great news in my opinion for two big reasons. First of all, Orange Cassidy is hilarious, as we all know, and will add a much needed sprinkle of comedy to the proceedings. Often ladder matches are really scary and intense, and that's a good thing, but sometimes you do need just a comedy spot or two just sprinkled in there, and Orange Cassidy is the right sort of person to provide that. But the second reason, and perhaps the more important reason I'm excited about this, is because Orange Cassidy is an insanely talented wrestler and a great high flyer, and I can't wait to see what kind of inventive things he tries to pull off, at least, or doesn't try to pull off, because he never tries at anything in this match. So that is 3 competitors confirmed for this multi-man ladder match, and we'll keep you up to date as more are announced. Other matches on the card include, of course, Jon Moxley defending the AEW World Championship against Brody Lee, Cody versus Lance Archer in the final of the TNT Championship tournament to crown the first ever champion, and also MJF taking on Jungle Boy in singles action. And finally, let's talk Netflix. I've recently been watching Community, which I'm a bit of a decade late to, but you know, I'm really enjoying it. What have you been watching? Never mind that, it doesn't matter what you're watching, because there's a new movie out on Netflix and it features none other than the big dog. That's right, Roman Reigns took to Instagram to promote this movie called The Wrong Missy, which he says is his second film ever. Now, I had a look at his filmography. He's appeared in a couple of things, a couple of movies, one like guest starring as himself, one was a voice role, but I think he's referring to Hobbs and Shaw, where he turned up as The Rock's character's brother. I'm assuming anyway that's what he meant. But yes, on Instagram, Roman Reigns said, check me out in #The Wrong Missy, my second film ever. So cool to see David Spade and Lauren Lapkus do their thing. Those are the lead actors in there, of course. Really enjoyed working with and learning from these two. Hope you guys enjoy. Check it out on Netflix Film tomorrow on May 13th, but May 13th today, so check it out today. Not sure what time. And don't worry, I watched the trailer just to get a little taste, a little flavour of what The Wrong Missy's about. Oh, it seems hilarious, guys. So basically, right, David Spade plays this guy who's like a high-level corporate office worker, it seems. He's working for a big rich company. They're about to go on a retreat to Hawaii for like a work holiday kind of thing. He's previously been on a date with this woman called Missy, who's like the woman of his dreams. He texts her and just on a whim invites her to Hawaii, to this work thing with him. But he texts, you guessed it, The Wrong Missy. And guys, from the trailer, this other Missy, this Wrong Missy, just seems to be an absolute riot. Like, she's got no decorum at all, and I'm sure that hilarity is going to ensue. But what of Roman Reigns' role in this movie? Well, he plays, no, hang on, I need to read this out word for word because it's absolutely brilliant. He appears on the cast list as Tattered Meathead brackets Gary. Yes, that's right, Roman is playing Tattered Meathead brackets Gary, and I can only wonder what kind of character that's going to be. On a serious note, it's cool to see Roman get to do things that he really wants to do. Hopefully this goes down really well. I don't know if it will. Just from the trailer, it didn't seem like my sort of thing. Maybe it'll be yours. Check it out. Hopefully Roman's performance is good and he continues to build a bit of a name for himself in Hollywood. That would be nice, wouldn't it? He knows The Rock and he's related to him, so that can't hurt. And that's it for today's news video. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to choose, I guess, a Becky Lynch match for my recommendation of the day. I'll choose her match with Charlotte at Evolution, at the Evolution pay-per-view. It was just brilliant. One of the best women's matches I've ever seen, I think, in my life. I think it was really, really enjoyable. And one of WWE's best matches of that calendar year as well. So check that out if you haven't seen it already. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair at Evolution. It was wicked. And thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think of any of these stories in the comment section down below. Stay positive out there, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I'll see you very soon.